let's go ahead to the next part here on the economy. As you were saying about death spirals and all that, we may not even know if we're in a death spiral, apparently. So let's go ahead and put this up here on the screen about some of the key economic data that will be suspended during a government shutdown. The jobless claims from the Labor Department will likely not be released. Non-farm payrolls by the BLS will not be released. The CPI and the PPI, the Consumer Price Index and the Producer Price Index, key inflation indicators from the BLS will likely not be released. Retail sales, factory orders, housing starts, trade data from the Census and the Bureau of Economic Affairs, the Employment Trends Index from the Conference Board, the GDP data, new home sales and construction permits from the Census Bureau, export and import trade data from Census and Commerce. And they say, quote, the next Fed meeting is 4 weeks away. We're entering a data freeze. So historically, the Fed would shift more dovish on average during U.S. government shutdown, which maybe that might be a blessing in disguise, right? As the Fed would become a little bit more dovish. But
a source of mine at BLS said that one BLS official is listed as essential.
Wow.
So
that's
one.
It?
Yes. That's out of about 2,000 people.
Should we explain the essential thing for people, for non-Washington
So
people?
if you're deemed to be an essential employee, then you have to keep working.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you get paid.
Right. Yeah, no one's getting paid.
Right.
Right. But you do have to keep working.
But you have to keep working.
Yeah.
So there's one dude, and it's not apparently, I guess, the guy who just
Mr.
got fired.
Antoni.
We'll talk about him in a second. One dude or woman who is deemed to be essential. Somebody's got to like make sure you run that coffee maker so it doesn't get moldy or whatever. That's essential. And so the BLS every day, its thousands of employees are collecting and analyzing data from businesses and other entities around the country. Like this data does not just appear out of nowhere. Like it has to be produced. It has to be found. So you're like, these employees are on the phone calling businesses. Because if you're a business, you think your top priority is calling BLS back?
No.
And telling them like how many employees you have this month?
No, I've shared this before. Breaking Points was recently selected for like the whatever survey. It was so annoying to fill out that survey. The only reason that we did it is because they were like, you will be punished if you do not fill out this survey. I was like, all right, I guess. This just goes 2 hours of my life, going look at it.
Right, and so it's a bunch of bureaucrats' job to make sure Saagar fills that paperwork out. And Saagar does not want to fill out that paperwork.
No, I didn't want to. I even asked the accountants, I go, do I have to do this? They're like, yeah, you have to. And I was like, okay, fine.
And so now they're not going to be harassing you. And so you can be like, you know what, I'm not filling that paperwork out. And so we'll be flying blind into the Fed meeting and elsewhere. Because once they come back, then recollecting, getting it started is a lot harder. And the accuracy, Trump was very frustrated by all the revisions. Can you imagine what kind of revisions we're going to be looking at for these coming months?
Yeah, government shutdowns always cause just kind of crazy disruptions in service, and exactly. Anyways, and also, by the way, that's why the market usually reacts negatively. Although yesterday, for some reason, the stock still went green. We'll talk about that with the AI block as to what's actually driving the economy. But we had some very limited data before the government shutdown we can share with you. Let's put this up here on the screen. This was from ADP. They say, quote, that the U.S. lost some 32,000 jobs in September, says ADP payroll processor. That is down from a revised loss of 3,000 in August. Economists had expected an increase of 45,000. So the ADP does not include government workers, but they say that they have to give it a closer look this month because the BLS data is going to be delayed because of the government shutdown. So we are kind of flying blind, as you just said. They say, quote, the surprise job loss in September is the latest sign that the labor market is weakening. Job growth has slowed to a trickle this year, even as the unemployment rate has mostly held steady. Federal Reserve last month lowered short-term interest rates by a quarter point and signaled more cuts are likely, citing weak hiring specifically like this. And they say that the leisure and hospitality sector shed some 19,000 jobs last month, which was the largest decline among major sectors. Education, health services were still bright spots with a collective gain of 33,000. So I think the fact that the leisure and hospitality industry is the one that's getting the most hit, that reminds me a lot of COVID and of 2009. Now, it's not in any way comparable to 32,000. But the point is, just when consumer spending starts to soften, what's the first thing that goes? Flights, hotels, travel, things like that. And if you have that on top of a government shutdown, why does the shutdown matter? Well, remember, the federal government is the largest employer in the United States. 2 million people work for the federal government. So let's say that this thing, the last one dragged 35 months. We were doing, or 35 days, sorry, 35 months. Can you imagine? 35 days. We were trying to do the math on the number of missed pay periods, but that's a lot of money. I mean, the average margin for the median household income is somewhere between $500 to $1,000 for an emergency. So 2 missed pay periods, you're really starting to cut into credit card debt and to some other issues. I mean, we could put the morality or whatever of that aside and say economically, that's usually not good. That means it's like, okay, we're not eating out, we're not buying gas, we're making like putting most stuff on a credit card, hoping that stuff eventually, when we do get paid, we can back pay our mortgage, our rent, etc. So that's a difficult situation. Right.
Yeah. Right. We're not going to fly anywhere in the fall.
Yeah, we're definitely not going. We're not going anywhere for Thanksgiving, right? Things like Thanksgiving. I mean, I believe Thanksgiving Sunday is like the biggest travel day of the entire year. So tens of millions of people take to the air.
Might not be making, and a lot of those people had miserable flights last time.
Yeah.
So maybe like, you know what? Maybe we're just not going to fly.
Some of us were there too.
Yes. Maybe we're not going to fly this year. We'll just. Whoever lives close enough to drive together, we'll celebrate with that. And this difficult time is coming as people are stretched ever tighter because of the increase in energy costs and grocery bills and interest rates and housing prices. Like it's just tougher out there than it was 5 years ago, and so people have, I think, a little bit less breathing room going this time. But also, Trump's global, whatever you would call it, a global trade war and like attack on Canada in particular, has really dragged down tourism from Canada and tourism from everywhere around the world.
Yeah, I heard this is screwing Vegas. So first of all, I had no idea.
Now LA too.
Really?
Yeah.
What's up with all those Canadians going
Canadians
to Vegas?
They love Vegas, and they love
That's
all
an
of
indictment of Canada, by the way.
You've been to Canada, right?
Yeah.
You want to stay in Canada all the time?
No.
Okay, exactly.
I'm not Canadian.
Closest country, United States. Yeah. And so they come down here in droves.
Yeah.
They go to Florida, they go to Outer Banks,
they go
this
to
is
Vegas,
starting to
they
make
go
sense.
to LA. They're snowbirds. That's what it is. Yeah,
of course, it's miserable.
That makes sense. Right.
Yeah. Okay. And so if you're in Canada, wouldn't you rather be in LA?
Sure. Yeah.
So,
yeah, definitely.
Instead, the Canadians are like, you know what? Screw it. We're not going to LA.
So where are they going?
A lot of them are staying home, and then I think they're going to Europe. I don't know what else they're doing. That's a good question. Maybe they're going to Mexico.
That would actually be
flying right over. Well, I'll actually make some calls to like the Canadian tourism places and see.
I would love to.
Where are the Canadians?
Yeah,
because they're not coming here, and it's killing our tourism industry.
I knew that about Vegas because I've seen some Vegas stuff coming out and being like, oh my God, we're screwed by Canada.
Vegas, just one hit after another.
I was like, really? Like Canada, that relying on Vegas? Interesting. All right, let's continue on this train with the BLS news that we could share with all of you. Let's put it up here on the screen. So you'll all recall the BLS commissioner was fired after a revision happened because Trump didn't like the revision. And so Trump nominated E.J. Antoni, previously of the Heritage Foundation, to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Well, it turns out that his nomination has now been pulled from the BLS before the United States Senate to be confirmed. The, quote, White House official declined to say the reasons for withdrawing the nomination, only to say that he was a talented economist and President Trump plans to announce a new nominee soon. So Ryan, as you and I know here in Washington, what this means is that not one senator, not two, but 4 Republicans came to the White House and they're like, hey, this is not happening, period. And so usually what happens then is the White House gets to save face and withdraw, and no Republican senator has to come out publicly and say, I was not going to vote for this person. But they were willing to do it. They called the bluff. They called the Office of White House Legislative Affairs, and they're like, look, he's not even going to go through committee. He's not going through the floor. Pull his nomination and let's move on, because this is not happening right now.
It's how Larry Summers went down.
Yeah, there you go.
5 Democrats from the banking committee just called the Obama administration and said, we're not making him Fed chair.
Yep.
You can put him up, but he's going down.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? Then we're not putting him up. There was he lacked support within the right wing. Incredible quote. Do you know Kyle Pomerleau? I don't know him.
No, I don't.
Tax expert for American Enterprise Institute.
Okay.
he wrote on Twitter after his nomination, he wrote, quote, "There are a lot of competent conservative economists that could do this job. EJ is not one of them." It's just such a...
Very bitchy.
And I just once, and that's a baseline. He's just saying he's just not competent.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a ideological problem. And the BLS had a bunch of problems after he was named. Like, remember they were like, "Oh, by the way, we're not releasing our data."
Yes, yeah, that's right.
No explanation. This is like last week or the week before. Like, data's late, and Wall Street is just not used to BLS having data late. Like, Wall Street trusts BLS data, and they trust that when they say it's going to come post at 8:30, it posts at 8:30 precisely, and they're sitting there with their trigger fingers ready to trade on it.
Yeah.
Oh, not even their trigger fingers, but they're like fake algorithmic trading models are ready to start trading. And to have a guy who's like, "Wait, we're not putting the data out on time."
Right.
Get out of here.
Inconceivable, right, to Wall Street and to others. That's a good point. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. Last thing here in terms of the White House and the economy, we can put this up here on the screen. The Supreme Court has allowed Lisa Cook to keep her job for now. For those who were not tracking, Lisa Cook was one of the members of the Federal Reserve Board.
Is a member of
the Federal Reserve Board, who was not going along with the Trump administration's desire to cut rates sooner than as soon as possible. So Trump and the administration accused her of mortgage fraud based on, what is it? Within the executive, they're technically allowed to fire people, quote, for cause. And so basically one of their, the Federal Housing Administrator, Bill Pulte, went out and found this thing which she allegedly purchased a home for as a vacation home, something like that,
right.
some sort of vacation, or some sort of mortgage fraud technicality. Based on that, Trump said that she was fired. This led to a showdown with the Supreme Court over whether the charges are legitimate, and B, whether that qualifies as being fired for cause. So the court, in a brief order, quote, deferred a decision on the Trump administration's emergency request to remove Cook from the bank's independent board while the lawsuit challenging her dismissal proceeds. So this is going to take a while, at the very least till January. I think that all of this goes forward. It's going to center on the legitimacy of the charges over Trump's own executive power, but at the very least, for now, Trump is not getting the total control of the Federal Reserve Board that he wanted.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Right, but he did get his little rate cut.
Quarter point, right?
He
so
wants
it's not.
more.
He wants a lot more, right? And so, I mean, I want a lot more, to be honest. I still think it's crushing a lot of our economy. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.